Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100 index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining us Thursday afternoon, we have Joyce, Managing Director on Nasdaq's Market Intelligence Desk, for an update on technical levels to watch in the Nasdaq-100. We're also going to take a fresh look at Bitcoin because, Brian, since we spoke about Bitcoin a couple of weeks ago, it certainly has made quite the move, as your charts indicated. Before we get to that,
so
give us fresh levels on NDX.
Of course, straight to my screen. NDX is here. We're looking at right now is a weekly period chart. You could see in late November, we finally had that convincing breakout here above the prior high, which was initially made back in August. So we had about 3 months of sideways consolidation, November breakout, last week of November, and we're just marching higher. Last week we had a minor pullback, but still looking very constructive. That's the weekly period. On the daily period time frame here, you can see we're just beginning to move out above the highs from, let's say, 2 weeks ago, back on December 8th. So very constructive. The RSI is in the high 60s. Certainly approaching overbought levels, but as we know, it can get up. Just recently got up as high as 80. So overbought can become more overbought. If you want to get down to very short-term levels to see, maybe, levels we want to see hold in case there is a pullback. So the recent prior high right here, this is at 12,650. That's where we want to see initial support. If that does not hold, then we have down here this double bottom pattern, which took place right at a price gap of 12,268. So last is 12,720. Any further weakness, if it doesn't hold this initial support at 12,650, we have potential support. Key support level is down here at 12,268. So we had a double bottom pattern. It's a minor one, but the fact that it took place along a price gap, which is an expected support level, that will be a key level to hold in the near to intermediate term.
All right. And of course, we have to take a look at Bitcoin. I mean, it's been completely unstoppable. And again, since we spoke a couple of weeks ago when you were taking a look at the chart, you said if it, breaks this level where it was hanging around for a few days, that it had room to go. And it certainly went.
Yeah. So right here now, looking at the daily period chart, it's, as you can see, it's just, almost, you want to say parabolic, almost is how I'll put it. So, and I say that because it really depends on what your time frame is. So this month to date, it's up 18%. In November, Bitcoin was up 40%. In October, it was up 29%. It's up 220% year to date. This is the daily time frame. Looking now at the weekly time frame, you can see we're just beginning now to break out this week above the prior all-time high, which was made back in December of 2017. This is the level we were looking at when we first got it back above the high from 2019, which was down at 13,850. Once we broke above 13,850, the prior all-time highs from 2017, were now key to watch. And again, that was 19,511. Last is now 23,050, 23,060. So, just a phenomenal move. I've seen a number of technicians highlighting the 30,000 level as their expectation as to where this can run. Just keep in mind, while it is somewhat overbought, and again, that's a relative term, RSI is at the 88 level, which you can see that on the weekly chart. The weekly RSI is at 88. If we go back in time, you can see this 88 level, so the weekly RSI has gotten well above that on numerous occasions. And if we go back to 2013, and I'll tell you why I'm highlighting this period in a minute, but the last time, in 2013, when we first reached 87, 88 on the weekly RSI, yes, that's extremely overbought, but before it peaked out, it went up another 500 to 550% before it peaked. So you can see that Bitcoin is, in a league of its own as far as, potential price movement. And again, we're just beginning to break out above prior highs. So, yes, in the near term, we could see a pullback, even a 20% pullback, relative to, what Bitcoin's typical price action is. That's very modest. But the upside potential is certainly there. Because Bitcoin is considered somewhat, a currency or it's in its own asset class, but it's always, compared to gold and even silver. Silver's very interesting price setup here. If you look at the daily period chart, you can see that it's been consolidating since its highs back in early August, up at $30. and it's just beginning now over the last 2 days to break out above that downtrend. So a lot of technicians are looking at Bitcoin here. I'm sorry, looking at silver here. If you go a little bit further back in time, we could see that silver topped in 2010, 2011 at the $50 level. Last sale is $26. So if it comes close to those prior highs from 2011, from almost 10 years ago, there's certainly plenty of upside. You have almost a double here if you wanted to to look at it in those terms. We did have somewhat of a pretty healthy pullback. Recently we're went down about 26-27%. But look where we held. We held support at the prior tops from 2014 and from 2016. So prior highs, prior resistance now acting as support. This arrow is a little bit out of place. That was the initial breakout earlier this year, but this is the level we're looking at here, that 21, 22 range. So now we're marching higher. Bitcoin looks good. Silver looks good. Everything you could argue is extended in the short term, but again, especially with Bitcoin, it certainly has has those years where it could run. Again, we're up 220% this year to date. In 2013, we gained 5,400%. So
it's up 40% in the last month alone. That's what I was just looking at before. It really is quite incredible to see what it has done. Brian, thanks for the update on the technical levels, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.